Well, I told you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Motown special this Friday evening on Startup Central. My next guest, Soonicorn, Cardekho, and the co-founder Amit Jain now joining us. Amit, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Startup Central. You and I haven't chatted in a while. The last 120 days, I'm sure you've had to reimagine it all, figure out what's going to happen, the COVID shock. So let me first begin by asking you, are you back in the fast lane? The last time I spoke to you was pre-COVID. The numbers are looking really healthy. The resale market was looking in top gear. What is it now looking like after 120 days of COVID?
I think a phenomenal time, I must say. We basically are now back to almost 70% of pre-COVID run rate, which is a good sign for a recovery, basically. So clearly, I'm excited, obviously, as a founder. Costs have gone down with a lot of stuff, coming lean. And EBITDA wise, we are actually doing better than pre-COVID now. So clearly, I mean, I can't say, it has been a bad time. In fact, a lot of digital shift is being seen in dealers, OEMs. I am very bullish right now.
You're very bullish. You're back to the pre-COVID levels, Amit. Completely back, little back,
Completely back.
more than
70% there, I
back.
said. 70% back, not fully back. Of course, we are hoping that by OND will be back to normal. But for now, 70% is a good sign.
Okay, yeah, 70% back, comeback is really, really big. Can you give me some insights? Because, this will be like a phenomenal time also, I would imagine, for a internet startup like yours, a consumer internet startup like yours. People will be hesitant to go to dealer showrooms, right? Everybody still wants to do social distancing, or at least, certain kind of buyers. They don't want to go to dealer showrooms. They don't want to ride Ubers and Olas. So again, shared mobility on its way down a bit for now, personal mobility making a comeback. How have you capitalized on this? First of all, is this true? And if yes, how are you capitalizing on it?
Look, nobody wants to go to showroom. Walk-ins have fallen significantly, and frequent lockdowns are not helping either, right? Having said that, servicing customer at home has become the new normal, and digital online to offline transition has become smoother, very clearly. And we have come up with new models where people can come ask for a home test drive, and we help them do it. Similarly, in used cars, we have come up with a new model that you like a vehicle, we can get it to your home and you can test drive it at home instead of going out. So the given the new normal is about safety. Clearly, we can see a shift in consumer patterns, and we are obviously evolving our model also to make sure online to offline transition handshake is much smoother. Look, our vision is to own personal mobility, so we'll do whatever it takes to make sure everybody has a vehicle and in the most seamless format they can. Coming to your first part that you asked about, what's happening, we are seeing largest traffic in our career's history of car dekho, bike dekho, zig wheels. We have never seen this kind of traffic. We are actually much beyond pre-COVID levels, almost 15-20% up, which is like the best part. So there's a lot of demand clearly, and for the like a Maruti, into which manufactures a lot of entry level cars, we are seeing a 30% jump on Maruti. We are seeing almost a 15% jump on bikes, and for certain brands like a Hero or a TVS, almost 30% more demand on the site. So clearly, I mean it's a mix of pent up demand and and there are new buyers who have just emerged, which means that there are people who are actually traveling by say a metro or Ola Uber. They have finally decided to buy a vehicle, and that's basically resulting in a lifetime highest traffic on the site. Yet that will not materialize into all sales because there is a disruption on supply side, lockdowns. Not all manufacturing is back up. You can expect some Maruti cars to actually go on waiting soon. So we can clearly see the trends and patterns. There is demand clearly, and if everything gives everything is comes together in terms of supply chains and production, not getting hampered, and lockdowns not happening, you should be back to
Demand
normal
for
soon.
Amit. Okay, so you'll be back to normal soon, but When you're seeing the demand, and I told you this is a Friday Motown special we're doing. The guest before you was from Ather Energy, an EV company, just got a check of 84 crore rupees from Hero Motocorp. So, clearly it's exciting times. So, when you're seeing this demand, what is the demand for? Can you tell us a bit about that? Because, you'll have fantastic insights. Is it still, for example, the Wagoner, which is a top seller? Is the demand primarily back in the urban cities, or is it, in the smaller towns? Like, can you tell us a bit of what's happening?
So right now, entry level cars are the biggest hit. So if I were to say segment share, right? So we are now seeing the largest uplift only on hatchback, and the luxury and the over 15 lakh are say back to normal, but we see 30% plus on the hatchback segment, which is the entry level, right? So a lot more new buyers have emerged. We are seeing a similar trend on the used car segment, wherein up to 5 lakh used cars have a increased demand clearly, almost around a 40-50% up than previously, if I were to segment it out. And for other segments like the 10 to 20 lakh segment cars, they are back to normal, not yet up like the hatchback entry, but clearly the biggest winner right now are going to be people who have got a strong entry level lineup like a Maruti or maybe a Hyundai to a small extent. That's how I would put it.
And geographically, have you seen any insights? Is the larger cities doing better than the smaller cities?
So it's a different answer for each one. For bikes, it's a different answer. We are seeing a larger rural demand. I think the crop season was also good this time. In cars also, we are seeing an increased demand from tier 3, 4, and there is an increased demand from metro also. Overall, cars as a segment has risen, but it is a uniform spread amongst the smaller towns and the bigger towns. In bigger towns, there are a lot of people driving Ola, Uber, and they have finally migrated to a car, is how I would put it. And if I go to smaller towns, everybody has realized for family safety need they'll need a vehicle. So I think that it is only going to help the overall auto ecosystem as we move on. And the online trends also indicate the same. There's a uplift of demand on both sides, both bikes and cars from rural and metro both. But if I were to relatively compare, bikes clearly has a larger share of increase in terms of 3 and 4 versus cars, but 3 and 4 cars also has increased by say 10-15% out there.
But then from what you're telling me is very interesting, because it comes back to the first point that you were making, that there's unprecedented traffic, and a lot of that therefore is coming from the smaller towns and rural India, right, for Cardekho. That's a fascinating trend.
Yeah, look, car buyers always had internet. So, we already, so if 100 people buy a vehicle, 90 people were already online. So you could not expect more to come. And Cardekho already was capturing almost of that 90% share. So almost 80% of car buyers go through our platform already. So we practically represent the auto as a segment in the country on how things are moving here.
But people are okay buying used cars. They don't know who has been surface, corona. It's not an issue at all. You've not had to come out with any SOP.
Your voice cracked a bit. Can you repeat the question?
Used car market, where you say a 70% comeback is there now from pre-COVID levels. Did you have to introduce any SOP? Like, did you have to do anything different to make consumers feel comfortable buying used cars? Because they don't know what the car has been. Do it belong to anybody who might have had COVID-19? Like, any of these fears exist, or is it something we just read about?
So in used cars, if your voice was cracking, I'm not sure if you got your question right, but I'll try to repeat your question. Are people still buying a used car, given the fact you don't know who was the previous owner, etc.? So there's a definite segment of cohort that buys used vehicles, and there's a reason why they buy it, right? Because they don't want to go ahead and buy a new vehicle which is more expensive. So that cohort obviously buys carefully now. It's not like they're taking a risk or anything, but they buy carefully now. What that means is dealers also doing their bit. If you talk about used car transaction on ground are not as high as the traffic increase right now, because even these dealers are struggling to and provide that kind of experience yet, and the number of transactions that are happening in a bit of organized market are higher. While the normal dealer, if you were to call a normal dealer on the street who owns 10, 15 cars, he would say I'm like 40, 50% back right now. So in all fairness, the traffic on the internet on our site has not really translated into real transactions yet. But demand exists is very clearly visible because we can see an increased pattern of lead drops and traffic on the site on used vehicles itself. So to answer your question, there are people who are hesitating to close a transaction yet. Having said that, the demand or the need to buy is clearly visible as long as you can give a great experience, and that's what we are as Cardekho trying to do.
Amit, you've taken me through all the consumer insights. We've done it geographically, we've done it model-wise. I want to now ask you that, is it business as usual for Cardekho? Before, when you and I were chatting, it was pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, you were dreaming big, you were almost a unicorn, you weren't having NBFC, you wanted to get in the lending business. Are you still doing all of that, or have you had to focus on just increasing your cash runway?
Look, luckily for us, cash runway is over 100 months. So reality is that that is not the problem really, right? And our dreams are as big as we ever thought. And this season has only given us more fuel to actually strike better, because more and more digital trends are visible clearly with the traffic on the site, and the other way dealers are approaching the situation right now. So I'm very, very excited with this new phase. If you were to ask me, could it have been better? No. I am enjoying a great family time along with a great business that's getting built up on much better fundamentals, clearly. So to cut the long story short, I think it's the best time for us.
Okay, so are you still a unicorn? Are you going to be a unicorn in 2020?
Look, I never bothered about the term unicorn, honestly. Let's build a great business is how I look at it. And everything else is the outcome, right, of building a great business. Will we be a unicorn? For sure. I mean, if that's a metric to define success with, I really don't think I define it like that. I really define a great IPO, a great profitable company, and I'm able to return great returns to all our investors. That's how I would look at it. And Sunicorn or unicorn or whatever we do is just gonna be a outcome of building a great business. And I'm completely committed to build
Listen, I
a great
remember
business.
very clear. I remember. I so look at the markets, the highs that they're at. You've heard the finance minister talking about overseas listing. There's a special platform for startups. Look what the Nasdaq is. Look what the Indian markets are. Are you looking at an IPO anytime soon?
Not now, for sure. Next couple of years, I can guarantee no IPO. But yeah, third year down the line from here, we are definitely looking at one. And for that, of course, we are getting our act together from now on, right?
Okay. With that, Amit, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this Friday Motown special of Startup Central. Apologies for the few technical problems that we had. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us here. So that's Cardekho, still dreaming big. Doesn't want to talk about unicorn and not being a unicorn, but is certainly looking at an IPO, and it's great to hear that sales are back 70% of where they were pre-COVID, pre-lockdown.